Here are the 10 fastest muscle cars of the 1980s. Number 10, Buick GNX, top speed 124 mile per hour. The Buick Regal marked the end of an era. It was the last true muscle car Buick ever built and the ultimate evolution of GM's G-body platform. That legacy culminated in 1987 with the creation of the Buick Grand National Experimental, better known as the GNX, a high-performance farewell for Buick's boxy yet iconic coupe. The GNX was a bold departure from the standard Regal. Dressed entirely in black, it looked menacing, stealthy, and unlike anything else on the road. Its sinister appearance earned it one of the coolest nicknames in car history, Darth Vader's car. But the real magic wasn't just in how it looked. It was in what lay beneath the hood. Unlike most American muscle cars, the Buick GNX didn't rely on a massive V8. Instead, it packed a turbocharged 3.8-liter V6 that delivered serious punch. Despite GM officially underrating its power and torque figures, the GNX shocked everyone by outperforming nearly every American car of its time, even the Chevrolet Corvette. Its 0 to 60 runs were astonishingly quick, proving that brute force wasn't the only way to dominate the drag strip. Only 547 GNX were ever built, making them incredibly rare and highly sought after by collectors today. Meanwhile, the standard Grand Nationals and Turbo Regals that shared its engine remain a bit more attainable, offering a taste of that same dark, turbocharged magic that made the GNX a legend. Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS, 127 miles per hour. Chevrolet's Monte Carlo was another legendary nameplate that struggled through the smog era, a time when emissions regulations choked the life out of performance cars. Still, Chevy refused to let the Monte Carlo's muscle heritage fade away. Exciting variants like the Monte Carlo SS kept the spirit alive, offering a blend of style, performance, and nostalgia for enthusiasts who still craved that old-school power. Under the hood sat the familiar 305 small block V8, a proven engine that had been slightly detuned to meet the stricter standards of the day. Even so, it delivered respectable performance for its time. And the best part? The 305 was a well-known power plant in the car community, meaning there was no shortage of aftermarket parts or tuners who knew exactly how to squeeze out a few extra ponies. By 1982, the Monte Carlo had transitioned to GM's newer G-body platform, replacing the older A-body design. This switch brought several improvements: a lighter overall weight, a slightly longer wheelbase, and, in certain trims, better suspension tuning. Another bright spot for the Monte Carlo SS was its relatively low curb weight, just over 3,200 pounds, which, combined with the standard 373 rear gears introduced in 1984, gave it surprisingly strong acceleration. Earlier models had slightly taller 342 gears, but the update made the SS even more lively off the line. In a decade where performance was on life support, the Monte Carlo SS stood out as one of the few cars that still captured the spirit of the American muscle coupe. Stylish, capable, and just begging for a few garage tweaks to unlock its full potential. Ford Thunderbird Turbo Coupe, 133 miles per hour. Ford's Thunderbird doesn't always come to mind when people talk about performance cars, but the 1983 to 88 Thunderbird Turbo Coupe deserves a second look. In many ways, it was the Mustang's bigger, more refined sibling, a blend of luxury and performance that often flew under the radar. Under the hood, it shared the same turbocharged four-cylinder engine found in the Fox-body Mustang SVO, and like the Mustang, it rode on Ford's versatile Fox platform. The Thunderbird, however, had a slightly longer wheelbase, about 3.7 inches more, giving it a smoother, more composed ride without losing that sporty edge. For years, the 9th-generation Thunderbird went largely unnoticed, but recently, enthusiasts have started to appreciate it for what it really was: a forgotten gem and a more affordable alternative to the Mustang. When it first hit the market, though, the car struggled to find its audience. It was efficient and packed modern technology for the time, but its styling felt a bit old-fashioned, and its upscale marketing put it in competition with luxury grand tourers like the BMW 6 Series and Jaguar XJS, a tough crowd to impress. Even so, the Thunderbird Turbo Coupe brought something unique to the table, a turbocharged heart in a sleek, comfortable package. It might not have been a runaway success in its day, but it now stands as one of the most interesting and underrated performance coupes of the 1980s. Number 7, Ford Mustang SVO, 137 miles per hour. The third-generation Ford Mustang, better known as the Fox body, marked the point where America's beloved pony car began to win back its glory. Built on Ford's new modular Fox platform, which also underpinned several of the company's compact sedans and coupes, the Fox body Mustang was lighter, more agile, and far more refined than the model it replaced. It offered a renewed sense of performance and handling that brought the Mustang back into the spotlight after years of decline. At first, truly powerful versions of the Fox body didn't arrive until the mid-1980s, but one of the most fascinating turns came in 1984 when Ford introduced the Mustang SVO. This wasn't your typical Mustang, and that's exactly what made it special. Instead of a V8 under the hood, it featured a turbocharged four-cylinder engine, a heavily reworked version of the old Pinto motor. To everyone's surprise, this smaller boosted engine packed a serious punch. It produced as much power as the early Fox body Mustang GTs that carried the legendary 5.0 V8. The SVO proved that Ford could blend technology and performance, offering a sophisticated alternative to brute force muscle. It was lighter, sharper, and ahead of its time. A car that hinted at the future of American performance long before most people were ready to see it. Ford Mustang GT, 142 miles per hour. Few badges in automotive history carry as much weight as the 5.0. For Mustang fans, it's more than just a number. It's a symbol of power, performance, and the return of true American muscle. In the early years of the Fox body Mustang, Ford's pony car struggled to live up to its reputation. Without a proper performance-oriented V8, enthusiasts began questioning whether it still deserved to be called a muscle car, especially since even the underwhelming second-generation Mustang had its share of so-called exciting models. That all changed when the 5.0 made its comeback. By 1987, the Mustang's 5-liter V8 was officially rated at 225 horsepower, putting it right back into the performance spotlight. Manual models now came with a 5-speed transmission instead of the old 4-speed, giving drivers more control and making the car far more engaging to drive. This version of the Mustang stood as the most powerful one you could buy until the arrival of the SVT Cobra in 1993, and during the late 80s, it was one of the quickest American cars on the road. The 5.0 wasn't just an engine, it was a statement that the Mustang was truly back. Chevrolet Corvette C3 350 Special, 147 miles per hour. The third-generation Corvette, or C3, is often celebrated as one of the most beautiful Corvettes ever built. Its long, sweeping lines, aggressive stance, and curvy fiberglass body made it an instant icon. Produced for an incredible 14 years, it remains the longest-running generation in Corvette history. The C3's styling was inspired by the Coke bottle design language of the late 1960s, giving it that distinctive hourglass shape and earning it the nickname Coca-Cola Corvette. It perfectly captured the spirit of American performance: bold, sleek, and unmistakably powerful. Unfortunately, the smog era didn't spare even the Corvette. While early models from the late 60s packed serious punch, everything built after 1971 saw a steep drop in performance as emissions regulations tightened. The massive 454 big block V8 was gradually phased out, and by 1984 it was gone entirely. In its place, the smaller 350 small block V8 became the top-tier engine option. Thankfully, the L82 version of that 350 helped restore some of the Corvette's lost performance, proving that even in a restrictive era, Chevy's engineers still knew how to make America's sports car exciting to drive. The chrome bumpers were also replaced with molded urethane pieces that flowed seamlessly into the bodywork, giving the C3 a more modern look and improving aerodynamics. A subtle but symbolic shift from raw muscle to refined performance. Pontiac Firebird formula, 151 miles per hour. The third-generation Pontiac Firebird shared a similar story to Ford's Fox body Mustang. Arriving a few years later, it faced the same challenges of the era: stricter emissions standards and tightening fuel economy regulations that dulled the performance of nearly every American car. Most Firebird variants from this period were, unfortunately, a far cry from the high-performance machines that came before them. Still, there was a silver lining. The L98 350 Chevy small block V8 gave the Firebird some much-needed muscle, delivering decent power for the time and reminding enthusiasts that Pontiac still had performance in its DNA. Beyond its modest factory numbers, the Firebird's biggest strength was its potential. The small block V8 was one of the most familiar and widely supported engines in the world. Tough, reliable, and endlessly tunable. That's why so many owners turned to the aftermarket, modifying or engine swapping their Firebirds to bring back the excitement that regulations had taken away. Unfortunately, the absence of a manual transmission option in many versions left enthusiasts wanting more. It was one of several missed opportunities of the smog era, a time when even legendary nameplates had to bow to government standards rather than pure performance. Chevrolet Camaro IROCs, 151 miles per hour. Few cars capture the spirit of 1980s America quite like the third-generation F-body Camaro. Its design still carried a hint of that classic Coke bottle shape from earlier models, though it was far more restrained this time around. The 80s were all about sharp lines and boxy profiles, but the Camaro managed to stand apart. It had a touch of rebellious flair, almost like it wanted to be an exotic sports car that regular people could actually afford, and affordable it was. But if you wanted true performance, you had to step up to the IROC-Z. This was where the Camaro finally came alive. Under the hood sat the 350 V8 with tuned port injection, the same technology that powered the Corvette, giving it smooth yet serious power delivery. Beyond the engine, the IROC-Z came with a host of upgrades that made it a genuine performance contender. It featured stiffer springs, high-performance shocks, larger sway bars, and tighter suspension tuning, much of which mirrored the setup found in the Corvette itself. What really made it impressive was the value. The IROC Z delivered Corvette-like performance for roughly 30% less money. On the street or the strip, it could go head-to-head with the C4 Corvette, proving that the Camaro was more than just a stylish coupe. It was one of the best-performing muscle cars of the decade. Pontiac 20th Anniversary Trans Am Turbo, 153 miles per hour. General Motors' vast lineup of brands during the 1980s created some fascinating crossovers between models, and a few hidden gems that most people have long forgotten. One of the best examples of that is the 1989 Pontiac Trans Am Turbo, 20th Anniversary Edition. As the name implies, it was built to celebrate 2 decades of the Firebird Trans Am, a car originally designed to be the more affordable, performance-focused sibling to the Chevrolet Camaro. Now, back in the day, Pontiac prided itself on developing its own engines, tailored specifically for its cars. But this time, they borrowed something truly special from another GM brand, Buick. Under the hood was the same turbocharged 6-cylinder found in the legendary Buick Regal Grand National. And just like the Grand National, the Trans Am's power figures were rumored to be seriously underrated. On paper, it produced 270 horsepower, but real-world performance told another story. This thing could blast through the quarter mile in just 13.4 seconds at 101 miles per hour, numbers that still hold up impressively well even by modern standards. The 20th Anniversary Trans Am wasn't just a special edition badge job. It was a legitimate performance machine that proved GM's parts sharing could sometimes produce magic. Chevrolet Corvette C4, 157 miles per hour. For years, the 4th-generation Corvette was often dismissed as the weakest link in the Corvette lineage, a step back from the raw muscle and beauty of its predecessors. But as time has gone on, enthusiasts have started to see it in a new light. Gone was the C3's curvy Coke bottle silhouette. In its place came a sharper, more aerodynamic design, one that reflected the sleek, tech-driven spirit of the 1980s. Interestingly, the C4 was the first Corvette to move away from traditional fiberglass construction. Early models were made from molded plastics, while those built from 1994 onward returned to fiberglass panels paired with urethane bumpers. It was a blend of old-school durability and new-age innovation. Under the hood, the familiar 350 cubic inch V8 carried on, but in the form of the improved L98 engine. This version introduced roller hydraulic lifters, making it smoother, more reliable, and even more fuel-efficient than before, something that mattered a lot during the era of tightening emissions standards. Transmission-wise, the C4 also experimented. Some versions came with a rather unusual setup called the Doug Nash 4+3 manual, a 4-speed gearbox with an electronic overdrive attached. It was essentially a Borg-Warner T10 transmission with an overdrive unit bolted on, controlled by the push of a button. It was clever and forward-thinking, but in practice, it didn't quite match the sporty, high-performance character that people expected from a Corvette. Even so, the C4 represented an important evolution, a bridge between the old-school muscle of the 1970s and the modern performance machines that would define the 1990s.